All over Tamriel, the standing stones stand as an invitation for more power. These stones give our unique heroes powerful blessings, but appear as mere fancy rocks to others. Today, I'll take a look at the lore behind these big old rocks, explain the powers they grant and their overall usefulness to different types of characters. So come with me as I rank every standing stone in Skyrim. Today's randomly generated character is Woodwolm, an Argonian warrior who uses two-handed weapons and heavy armor. The first stone we're taking a field trip to is actually 3 stones. Got your ass, didn't I? Anyway, these 3 are known as the Guardian Stones. They represent the constellations of the Mage, the Thief, and the Warrior, but really they're simply a way for your character to specialize into one of the main 3 fighting styles the game offers. Nestled off a path between Riverwood and Helgen, these stones are likely one of the first things a new hero in Skyrim would visit. They each offer a 20% learning bonus for various skills, with the Warrior Stone specializing in combat-related skills like heavy armor and one-handed weapons, the Mage specializing in magic-oriented skills like destruction, and the Thief specializing in the overwhelmingly powerful stealth archer build, along with some other skills no one cares about like speech. Unless, of course, you have the unofficial Skyrim patch, which puts archery under the warrior sign, which I guess technically makes sense as it is a combat skill, but it feels wrong from a gameplay standpoint. Since we just knocked out 3 stones at once, I figure it's time for a lore break. Also known as the Stones of Fate, these standing stones dot the landscape around Skyrim and northern Cyrodiil. Attuned to the 13 birth signs, these stones were well known by the ancient Nords, who believed they allowed certain heroes to rewrite their fate. But who are these heroes? The characters we play as are special, maybe even chosen by the gods to be agents of change. Due to this, our heroes are not bound by fate, and are not subject to some of the same rules that normal people are. To be unbound to fate is to be a prisoner. These heroes can accomplish much in a short amount of time, and are usually linked to a prophecy, and, by extension, an Elder Scroll. Or in the case of Skyrim's hero, 3 Elder Scrolls. Much like someone who has escaped their bonds, prisoners have ultimate freedom. They are a blank slate, an avatar of change itself. Normally, a person's birth sign is dependent on the position of the constellations at the time of birth, hence the name. But prisoners have the luxury of being able to choose their own birth sign by simply using the standing stones. And yes, I know the other games let you choose your own birth sign at the start, but doomstones are a thing, so shut up. Moving on to standing stone number 2, or technically 4, I guess, we have the Apprentice Stone. Sitting cozily in a horrible swamp, this stone doubles your magicka regeneration, but also doubles your weakness to magic. As a charge under the Mage sign, the Apprentice is a good fit for characters looking to juice up their magic regeneration, but be sure to take into account the increased damage you'll take by brewing up a few magic resist potions. Or maybe just turn the game to novice difficulty. Going alphabetically from the Apprentice, we have the Atronach Stone. As it's also a charge under the sign of the Mage, this sign is another good choice for magic users. The Atronach sign, also sometimes known as the Golem, allows mages to absorb large amounts of magicka, but also completely stops any of their natural regeneration. In essence, those under the sign will not be able to restore their magicka naturally over time. Instead, they get a larger pool of magic and can simply absorb half of the magic of the spells that are flung at them. It's also a great way to help negate low damage spells, like the dollar store frost spell wizards seem to always use. Sitting gracefully on an island in Lake Ilanalta, near Falkreath, is the Lady Stone. You might lose a leg to slaughterfish swimming out to it, but it might just be worth it. This stone gives you a 25% boost to health and stamina regeneration, which is pretty decent if you're about to swim through a lake with slaughterfish in it. It's also a good idea for vampire characters, as it can help offset their lack of health and stamina regeneration while in the sun, but otherwise you might just be better off brewing some potions. Okay, how many stones are we at now? 6? Yep. The Ethereal Crown is an extremely overpowered artifact that was added by the Dawnguard DLC. Lying at the end of a rather long and difficult questline, this crown allows you to store the power of one standing stone while having another one active, meaning you can take advantage of the powers of 2 stones at once. And if that wasn't already quite powerful, you can even bypass the normal restrictions on Standing Stone's powers. Normally you can only use the stone's power once a day, but with the crown you can simply use the power, take the crown off and then put it back on, and use the power again. This allows for some rather broken combinations, such as letting you use the power of the ritual stone as many times as you'd like to raise a massive undead army, or use the shadow stone to turn invisible at will. But we'll get to those later. Regardless, the ethereal crown is a powerful tool, and ultimately how game-breakingly dumb you get with it is your choice. Now we arrive at the Lord Stone. Northeast off the path from an enormous shrine to the Daedric Prince of Destruction lies this ancient relic. After disposing of the bandits near the stone, you'll surely find its power useful, especially if you're a Breton. The Lord Sign bestows a 25% resistance to magical damage, and boosts your armor rating by 50 points. About the same as wearing a set of leather armor. The stone might be a good choice for any character looking to boost their defense. Whether you're a squishy mage in college robes or a thief in light armor, it's at least worth considering. Altogether, the stone adds up to a good amount of damage reduction, making this a good choice if you happen to like playing as a French person. East of Markarth lies the Lover's Stone, which buffs your learning speed for all skills. While not as effective as the Guardian Stones, only allowing you to learn skills 15% faster, it may be a good choice if your build doesn't fall neatly into any of the 3 categories of the Guardian Stones. It's also a decent choice for werewolf players, as they won't get the natural 15% boost to learning that being well rested gives. Overall, this stone is more of a niche choice than the others, but it still offers utility for certain characters. Sitting just east of Whiterun is possibly the most overpowered of all the standing stones, the Ritual Stone. This standing stone gives you the ability to raise the dead once a day for about an hour of in-game time, which sounds pretty good, but it gets better. Not only does this power work on some enemies that would not normally be able to be resurrected, such as giants and mammoths, its power becomes much more busted when you combine it with the ethereal crown. Since taking the crown off and putting it back on allows you to recast powers that would normally only be usable once a day, the crown essentially allows you to summon an endless army of undead. You see, the Ritual Stone doesn't work like standard conjuration magic. Normally, resurrected creatures turn to ash after the spell effect wears off, but that's not the case with this power. It also revives any creature up to level 75, except dragons of course. So go ahead and revive that boss, who cares? Oh, and the level limit can also be essentially bypassed with the Necromage perk. So, in theory, one could resurrect nearly anything in Skyrim an infinite amount of times using this method. As you can see, this could quickly get out of hand, but I do have to admit, it is a lot of fun. Now we go from one of the most powerful standing stones to one of the weakest. East of the College of Winterhold, on the aptly named Serpentstone Isle, lies, you guessed it, the Serpent Stone. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, this one kinda sucks. This stone gives you the power to paralyze an opponent for 5 seconds and deal 25 damage once a day. While the paralysis is a decent effect, 25 damage is laughably low for any character past about level 3. Also, paralysis potions are really easy to brew. I believe they should have done more to make this stone a little bit more powerful. Maybe make the damage scale to your current level, but honestly, unless you're a really low level character, I'd just give this one a pass. Just outside of Riften lies one of the more interesting standing stones, the Shadow Stone. This stone allows you to turn invisible for 60 seconds once a day. Obviously, this power is aimed at more sneaky characters, such as thieves. And of course, it can always be more broken. Utilizing the ethereal crown, one can use the power of the Shadow Stone to turn invisible as much as they want, trivializing nearly any combat in the game. The only downside is that the invisibility effect wears off as soon as you attack anything, but if they're dead before that happens, then there's nothing to worry about. Arriving at our second to last stone, we have the Steed. I honestly think this may be the most underrated standing stone among them all. The Steed grants you a passive buff, boosting your carrying capacity by 100 and making your equipped armor weigh nothing. Now that might not sound like much, but in Skyrim the main downside to armor is its weight. The heavier the armor, the slower you move, and the faster you run out of stamina. Armor weight also affects sneaking, as obviously a whole suit of armor isn't really that practical when you're being stealthy. Of course, the downsides aren't such a problem for warrior type characters who put a good bit of their skill points into boosting their stamina, and probably don't mind sounding like a walking box of nails. However, for thieves and mages, heavy armor is nearly unusable without this ability, and for that reason I think it's one of the better choices, especially if you're going for a battle mage type character, or maybe you're a thief that wants to use heavy armor. I won't judge. Last, but technically not least, we have the Tower Standing Stone. You'll find this stone perched on a cliff, halfway between Winterhold and Dawnstar, but I wouldn't really mind if it just fell off of there, honestly. This one allows you to open any lock up to expert difficulty once a day. Not terrible, not great, and as per usual, incredibly broken by the Ethereal Crown. In my opinion, not really worth it unless you just hate lockpicking for some reason, but if that's the case, just get the skeleton key. And with that, we have explored all of the standing stones in Skyrim. I hope you enjoyed, but don't forget to press the big red button. And if you love this video on the standing stones, be sure to let me know by posting "I'm the biggest stoner" in the comments. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay curious.